Hey guys, welcome back to Heaven's Secret 2, episode 2. We're going to go ahead and finish checking this out. Thank you guys so much for the warm welcome back. And also, someone asked me a question, am I playing the new stories? Yeah, that's kind of what I want to do for the rest of the week. Just maybe play like the first episode of, or if they're short, like maybe the first and second episode of a couple of the new stories, because I haven't been following them. I haven't read them yet. I don't know much about them. So yeah, I can check them out and see if I'm feeling them. Like obviously I can't tackle everything. There's lots of stories now. So I'm gonna do my best to figure out which ones I like, and of those we'll focus on those and maybe tackle some of the older stories now that I know for a fact that I really liked and I want to finish. But anyway, let's get started. Fact: the Immortals' clothes feature a special design. There are slits on the back for the wings as well as buttons to facilitate the dressing process. As a child, I loved watching adventure movies. I thought it was fun to often be on the verge of death, yet escape it every time. In reality, there's nothing fun about it. I wonder, is she like writing like a memoir towards the end, or... Chapter 2, Plague's Show. The capital, Citadel's dungeon. Okay, how far we have fallen in just one episode. We're already relegated to the dungeon. So pretty much the cover screen is already happened. My eyelids fluttered open slightly. There was only darkness and damp cold that made my bones ache. I tried to concentrate to warm my body, but my head was hurting so much that it was a futile exercise. The silence was broken only by the rhythmic sound of the droplets falling to the floor. It smelled of waste and blood. Oh! Also, somebody told me that they romanced Malbonte and they had significantly different lines. So I'm definitely going to have to replay. And that is fine. That is fine. But yeah, it's a little annoying because I got that glitch at the end, but we'll make it work. I shifted and the chain jingled in response. The door instantly swung open, as if someone on the other side had been waiting for me to wake. Blinding yellow light filled the cell and illuminated me, dressed in rags, disheveled and wounded. I could just imagine her pacing like back and forth outside of the cell. Like, when is she gonna wake up? When is she gonna wake up? And then we finally come out and wake up, and then she's like, okay, put on my evil performance, because she out here performing. I'm just saying. What's going on with this hand? What is that? I don't even know. You've come to every time I look at her, I notice something different. You've come to your senses, human. I took a step forward, but the chains held me back, rattling again. Your leash is too short, dear. Plague came closer and ran a nail along my chin, carefully examining my eyes. Why didn't she just kill me? What does she want? I jerked my head, shaking off her touch. What's going on? Where is everyone? Where is everyone? She pondered before slowly answering, her lips stretching into a malicious smile. Dead. Then why am I not dead? Once again, my question. My brain couldn't process it. I couldn't think or remember. But it was hard not to believe the stranger's cruel words. She said it so plainly and horribly that it seemed true. Plague expectantly watched my reaction with a sort of childish enthusiasm. I closed my eyes and looked away, trying to contain my feelings. But she didn't give me a chance to cope with my pain. She grabbed me by the hair and pulled me back. Don't hide, little bird. I can see everything. You'll be a wonderful toy for me. I tried to break free, but she held on so tightly that I couldn't. What's going on? Who are you? Plague pushed me away, straightened up, and began to walk thoughtfully around the cell. It's time for a change. She stopped and turned to me. Diffuse light fell on her, making her expression look particularly malicious. Heaven has come to an end. Your world has come to an end. What have we done to you? It was inevitable. If not now, then later. It was only a matter of time before we got to this point. Who's we? Yeah, we. Someone else entered the cell. Plague turned towards the newcomer, and then I saw him. Everything's ready. He was dead. This can't be. Watch hell and wait for my instructions. And don't try anything stupid. I'll keep your son by my side. He doesn't care about his son. Is that her hold on him? Is he making her believe that he cares about his son? Fine. I don't know. I think he's playing her. He didn't even bother to look in my direction. He left, taking the answers to my questions with him. I jumped up, stretching my chains to the limit yet again. I remember. They're back. Everyone who died is back. Did you do that? How? How is that possible? Plague was pleased with my distress. Without looking away from me, she slowly walked towards the door. Despair is fuel for her. So I think we legitimately just have to like not only show on the outside, but like tell ourselves on the inside to be positive. Saying please sounds like desperation. Don't leave me here. It's very desperate. I'll kill you. That's highly unlikely and highly emotional. So honestly, I think the best thing to do is just not to even respond. Plague lingered in the doorway, peering into my face. Well, she didn't like that. She didn't like that. I'll come for you when I get bored. Got it. You got it. The door closed, filling the cell with darkness and frightening silence. I fell to my knees and buried my fingers in my hair. Recent events flashed in my mind, bringing me back to reality. They're all alive, but how? Is it possible to escape non-existence? Trying to calm down, I leaned against the wall and wrapped my arms around my knees. The chains and my exhaustion kept me from using my powers, so I couldn't regulate my body temperature. It felt cold. I felt cold. They could have been freed by Plague, but what kind of power does it take to do something like that? In my mind, I replayed Plague's appearance, what happened before and what followed after. Several hours passed before fatigue took its toll. When I woke up, I was greeted by the same darkness. Why did Malbonte scream out in pain? That was interesting. Is she like draining his power? My eyes slowly got used to it, and I could distinguish the walls, the ceiling, and some stains on the floor. I don't know how many days, maybe weeks, I spent in the dungeon. No one fed or visited me. A couple of times it seemed to me that someone came by. I heard some voices above me, one calm, the other one excited. But by the time I found the strength to open my eyes, the door was already closing, taking with it the splinters of light. To pass the time, I walked around the cell as far as the chains allowed, pressing a palm against the damp walls. I was able to study every bump and scratch, to feel the seemingly endless quiet. I recalled some university lectures. It's important for an artist to become attuned before painting. One of the distinguishing features of Chinese painting is tradition of representing oneself as someone or something else. A tiger, a tree, a flower, or a house. I froze and asked the void. And who am I today? um... Okay. We have several attributes, right? Strength, composure, temper. Mostly those three, right? So does one of these lose us a point? Or am I forgetting about an option? Okay. I feel like we should go tiger for something fierce. Also kind of vibing flower. Or should we go composure? Or at least try to aim for composure. This isn't that deep. I'm gonna replay this anyway. Let's go flower. Flower was temper. Interesting. Again, I began to roam the cell like a ghost. The longer I was alone, the more often I would talk out loud. The sound of my own voice soothed me. It brought life to that forsaken place. No one brought me any food, and the chains relentlessly drained my energy. My stomach seemed to press against my spine, and my throat was painfully dry. How long had it been since I last ate or drank? A month? If I were a human, I would have died long ago. But I was immortal, which meant that my suffering would be eternal. Death was preferable. Soon, I stopped walking around the cell. I was lying on the floor, staring blankly into the darkness. I reminisced. Counselor Alvin held out his hand to me. Madam Melody, you have been of great help to Shepha and Lord Malbonte, so let me help you too. I have experience in council affairs. I will guide you, if you would do me the honor. Malbonte waved the counselor's hand away. Melody can do without you, counselor. Alvin obediently lowered his head. Of course. Whenever Malbonte and I would pass by, everyone bowed and immediately hid inside their homes. They're observing you. They just don't understand how Shepha could accept me after so many years of saying I was a monster. Yeah, that's because he's a liar. I was still in the dungeon. Was I still alive, or was this non-existence? My body was as cold as the walls. At first, I still tried to scream, but with time it felt ridiculously meaningless. No one would let me out of there. Ever. My mind kept on diligently sifting through dusty memories in search of the life that had been taken from me. Mixtures will improve both friendships and romantic relationships. Okay. We had a short break in our courses, and the teacher suggested taking a sort of vacation and going down to Earth. In Mexico, they were celebrating Dia de los Muertos. We ended up right in the middle of a crowd of painted dancing and singing people. Mimi squealed with pleasure. This is amazing. She immediately rushed after the others. The ordinary mortals saw her differently. They didn't notice her wings and burning eyes. To them, she looked like everyone else, a simple woman honoring the dead. A little girl handed Dino a sugar skull and ran on. Thanks. But the little stranger had already disappeared into a crowd of adults. Lucifer stood with his hands in his pockets. Weirdos. I thought death meant mourning for them, and here they are having fun. Depends on the culture, sweetheart. They believe that is the day when the dead come home, but they don't. I stooped to pick up the bouquet of flowers that someone had lost. I don't think it matters that much. The important thing is that they don't forget those who are gone. Mimi emerged from the crowd and extended her hands to us, beckoning. Come on, why are you standing there? Let's go. She led us along. Women were twirling, children were running, and decorations glittered all around us. There were candles everywhere, lighting the way for the souls. Lucifer kept his distance, while Dina let the strangers from the crowd lead him with a soft smile. Mimi began to dance, imitating the locals. Melody, dance with me. She pulled me towards the dancing people and began to show me the moves. At first, I was embarrassed. I knew that Dino and Lucifer could both see my embarrassment, and that made it even worse. They were watching us, Lucifer intently, and Dino with a reassuring smile. Mimi gently took my hands and shouted over the music and the voices. You got it. Don't be shy. I started to follow her lead. At first slowly, then I gradually relaxed until I finally forgot all about the people that were watching us. There were songs, dances, girls in skeleton costumes, flowers, jewelry, makeup, and lots of candles. So many bright colors. You might hear my daughter screaming. It's okay. So many bright colors, so much laughter, all of it in honor of the dead. I wished I could treat death with that sort of serenity, respect, and joy. After all, death was so natural, right? But for me, it wasn't anymore. I continued to dance, choking on my overflowing emotions. Mimi laughed, and Dino and Lucifer were both already smiling, watching all the buzzing, colorful Dia de los Muertos festivities with wide eyes. Oh! Wait, I think it's gonna go out some more. No. Okay. You can kind of see Lucifer on the edge over here. That's a fun picture. I stopped to catch my breath. My hair was wild and my cheeks were burning. Wow, that was great. You're really something. If only Miss Lena could see you too. She'd faint. We laughed. A holiday in Mexico brought you closer together. People celebrated around us, completely oblivious that winged beings from which they would have fled in horror had infiltrated their festivities. It was an ordinary human holiday filled with more significance than the lives of some immortals. Only my dreamless sleep saved me from the dull gloom, from the hunger, the ringing in my ears, and the trembling in my body. I felt that if I stepped out into the light, I'd probably go blind. The darkness was so ingrained in me. But a miracle happened, and after what seemed like an eternity, the door opened. I covered my face with my hands, squinting. I tried to see my savior. Pike? Hello, madam. He helped me up. Too weak to stand, I hung from his arms and searched his eyes for answers to all of my questions. What's going on? You need a shower. Let me take you to wash up. I pushed him as far as my daughter's going to him. I pushed him as far as my strength allowed. I'm not going anywhere until you tell me what's going on. My body couldn't support me and my knees buckled, returning me to the acolyte's arms. He removed my shackles and led me to the door. Why am I being let out? Pike, where is everyone? What's happening? I'm not allowed to talk to you, madam. Why? Who ordered this? Who would dare? I could think of a couple people. I could hardly move my tongue, but I couldn't stop whispering. I hadn't talked to anyone for so long. Pike said something to me, but I couldn't make out his words, and then I lost consciousness. Scalding water burned my skin. I jolted to my feet, awake. Pike's sympathetic voice came from around the corner. I'm sorry, madam, but you need to warm up. I left you clean clothes. Tell me when you're ready. Why are you doing this? Madam, please do as I ask. He's guarding me. I don't think I'll be able to escape. And how would I? I grabbed the edge of my frayed shirt in frozen doubt, but after a moment's thought, I undressed completely. I lifted my head and closed my eyes, letting the water wash away all the dirt. The mere thought of going back to the dungeon made me sick. No matter what happened, I just couldn't. I couldn't take it anymore. Without those shackles, my strength was beginning to slowly return. Some of my wounds would leave scars. They hadn't healed when I got them, and it was too late for them to regenerate. My bruises began to lighten, the ragged remnants of my nails began to regrow, and my hair recovered noticeably. Immortality brought me back to life. I got out of the shower. Can I have a towel? I'm sorry, madam. They didn't give me one. Who didn't? Fine. I hastily pulled the clothes onto my wet body. Of a guest. Former mistress. Hostage. Eh. Gotta glam up when you can. Gotta glam up. Then I smooth my hair. Oh. Here we go again with them with these like wild ass colors. With like most of them generally being blonde. It's hilarious. I like these two. There's something about the curl that's just like I'm gonna go with orderly. When I was ready, I went towards the sound of the acolyte's voice. He was startled by the sight of me. Madam, you look better. Follow me. Pike walked ahead, constantly glancing back to make sure I hadn't run away. Are you with Plague now? What choice does he have? I mean, honestly, like, I can't be mad at this guy. Like, he's being as polite as possible, like, while trying to stay alive. Like, you know. How could you go over to her side? Sweetheart. He stopped abruptly and turned to me with a stony, devastated expression. We didn't have a choice. Obviously. You'll have to too, madam. If you want to survive, bow your head and forget where you once stood. It doesn't matter now. What are you... The Pike had already turned away. He took a few more hurried steps and flung open the doors. Poor thing, he's already tortured. You can still see some of the remnants of the battle. Well, you call it a battle, but we were just completely bodied. The first person I saw was Plague. She was sitting on a throne with one leg crossed over the other. Self-assured, proud, dangerous. Behind her was a woman I didn't know. Malbonte and Lucifer were next to Plague. Mimi and Dino stood motionless on a platform. Opposite them were Fincio and Tyrendo. Seeing them all, I stumbled. Pike saved me from falling, but I didn't have enough strength to straighten back up. Dumbfounded, I looked at all of them from my stooped position as the acolyte supported me by the elbow. Their eyes were fixed on me. Only Dino was looking at his feet. Plague sprang up in her throne, pressed her clasped hands to her lips, and joyfully exclaimed, "Oh, my little bird! I can't even tell you're immortal. You've lost so much weight. You aren't such perfect creatures after all." You aren't? Is she something different? She was imprisoned without food or water for 3 months. It's no wonder. I scowled at him on the verge of fury. Why is he talking to this mad woman like he's on her side? Sweetheart. Wake up! Catch up! Surviving! Love. Surviving! We need to figure out who she is, what kind of power she has, in order to unseat her. Like... That takes time. Sometimes you have to play the game. You need to catch up. Lucifer, Dino, Mimi, Malbonte. Were they all on Plague's side? What do you think? What do you really think? So did the little bird like her cage? Or is she ready to spread her wings? I opened my parched lips and said, "Don't take me back there. I can't take it no more. We're not doing that. I forgot how to fly while I was in there. No, I did not. If not for the change, it wouldn't be so bad." That's kind of spicy. Someday I'll put you in a smaller cage. Read the room. Let's go with kind of spicy. Composure. Plague burst out laughing. You aren't picky. Plague seized the woman beside her and roughly pulled her closer. This is Eve. Huh. Interesting. Who is she? I took a few hesitant steps. It was difficult for me to stand on my feet, but I forced myself to straighten up and look at her intently. Who are you? Why? My voice dropped to a whisper. Why are you standing next to her? Why don't you fight? Because then they'll all just end up like you, honey. Malbonte, you're stronger than many. Why don't you fight back? Plague twirled a lock of hair thoughtfully around her finger. Of course he's a strong immortal, but he's still nothing like me. So she's something more. I took a few more steps, but I stumbled, falling to one knee. Plague chuckled softly as she watched me try to get up. My muscles shook so much that it was embarrassing. I didn't think I'd be able to get up, but someone's measured steps broke the silence in the chamber. I looked up and saw. Oh, interesting. Imagine Fincia. Imagine. I do. You know, since I'm not tied back here, I can like make a huge dive and go back and romance Dino. Lucifer and I ended very harshly. Yeah, in fact, I'm gonna go back and when I replay that last season, there was no way out of it by that time. Like if you have been romancing Lucifer at all, like I only romanced him season 1. And then as soon as I broke up with Dino, they were like, okay, you're on Lucifer's course. And I was like, what? Like I literally didn't take any scenes with him. And then towards the end, he comes in there and he's heartbroken. And I'm like, I don't even know. Like maybe I should just replay the whole thing. No, I'm not going back that far. Look, I'll deal with it. Okay, let's just stay the course with Malbonte. With this story, I struggled to find an ally that I was like really good with. Like, I don't know, because Lucifer and Malbonte are not particularly the type of people that I go for. Malbonte, like, I'm intrigued, and plus I feel like there was so much, we didn't have a lot of time with him in the first part, so I felt like there could have been more there. So I'm curious. It's like with Dino, he's my usual type, and so I can pretty much guess how that goes. Mimi, similar. And Lucifer, now I have a good picture. He's not a bad ally. He's just not for me. So I think I'm going to stay the course with Malbonte. I think I am. I just kind of want to see because I don't know fully what to expect. I don't know. So, cross my fingers. Here we go. He extended his hand to me. I froze, looking up at him. Plague angrily slammed her hands down on the armrest. Did I give you permission to help her? Malbonte didn't move. Continuing to look into my eyes, he said coldly, You're getting too worked up. There are things we must do. That's facts, though. I don't want to waste time on her. Plague grumbled but agreed with his remark. I'm still on to him. Such a responsible pup. Malbonte only clenched his jaw. Yeah, it's quite obvious he's not good right now. I tried to get up again without his help, but he grabbed my elbow and helped me up anyway. His hand remained on me. His icy gaze continued to follow my expression. Malbonte took a step back and turned away as if he instantly lost interest in me. Despite his words, you're grateful for his help. Are you done? Don't tell me what to do. Let me have my fun. Malbonte returned to his seat. As he walked, he stared at Plague and she stared back at him. It seemed they hated each other, but each respected the other's power. Plague stroked the armrest of her throne imperiously. As you must have realized, now I am in charge here. I looked around at everyone who was present and swallowed hard. Non-existence. They were in non-existence. How is this possible? As if reading my mind, Plague replied, I resurrected everyone because that's the law. I had to do it. She stroked Lucifer's head and began to wind his hair around her finger. At first he flinched, not hiding his disgust, but his emotions vanished beneath the mask of indifference, and only the grinding of his jaw betrayed his tension. There's another hostage. Plague continued. Soon my brothers will come, and we will bring heaven to its knees. Four horsemen of the apocalypse. Who are you? Her lips stretched into a smile. The horsemen of the apocalypse. I staggered. I looked at Lucifer, but he looked away. His lips twisted and what I took as contempt turned inward. Or maybe it was meant for me. Girl. Then I turned to Dino. Dino, you... But I didn't finish my sentence, noticing his blank look. Mimi seemed to be waiting for me to call her out too, but as soon as I looked at her, her gaze fell to the floor. I knew how Malbonte would respond, but I still addressed him. You were a ruler, and now you're her pup. How is this possible? Why are you lashing out at him? Girl, I don't recognize you. Why am I feeling like she's gone from one extreme to being like just a sheep follower to annoyingly obtuse? We'll stick with it. We'll stick with it. My words didn't hurt him. His face remained impenetrable and his voice was aloof. You're naive and stupid. You'll get a leash, and if you talk too much, you'll get a muzzle too. A rapturous sigh came from Plague. Such a bad boy. I looked at them, gasping with pain and disbelief. Why are you so stupid? Oh my god. What had Plague done to them? Just been more powerful. It's like everyone who had to get in line when Malbonte came around. They had no choice. He was just way more powerful. It's as simple as that. I don't get it. Shut up. Or maybe I was the one who didn't understand. Maybe I really was that naive. You are. Oh, you are. The horsewoman rose from her throne and approached me with a cat-like, playful gait. Now everyone has changed, my little bird. Now everything has changed, my little bird. You'll have to obey. She walked around and stopped behind me, whispering in my ear. A few rats may have escaped the ship and hidden away, but they're not a hindrance to me. Ooh. Who got away? She licked my earlobe and laughing pulled away. Ew. I wiped my ear in disgust and turned to her. Where did you come from? We aren't from here, little bird. Do you think you're unstoppable? You're alone against heaven, against Shepha. Plague came a little closer and whispered excitedly. You don't get it. I'm your creator now. She rocked on her heels, then clung to me again and showed me her battle with Shepha. Oh no. She touched my forehead with her hand, so hot it almost burned, and images flashed before my eyes. For a being who lived at the very top, it was easy to come down. For her, dimensions were like curtains, one hand only to nudge them aside to slip through. It was almost impossible to enter Shepha's abode uninvited, but Plague let herself in without any problems. She felt his world reacting to her presence. It pulsated around her as if trying to spit out a foreign body. That's what was happening. Almost. Plague put her hands to her mouth and shouted, I know you're here. Are you scared? A figure appeared. It moved towards the visitor slowly and calmly. Plague waved her hand and the space in front of her seemed to rip apart. The figure disappeared. I want to meet you, not your dolls. And then his omnipresent voice rang out. You shouldn't be here. As you can see, you and Shepha Malam overlooked something. Why are you here? You know why. You wouldn't dare. A force gathered around Plague. Something moved under her skin, and her body trembled, twitching and writhing. She waved her hand, and like a snake pulling off her skin, appeared in a different guise. Yo. Come out. The sky opened up, and the Creator came down to her, stepping on beams of light. Who freed you? I don't think we've seen this form of him. I don't know yet, but I'm searching. I wonder what would happen if you killed him. Shepha was silent for a long time, and nothing betrayed his agitation, but Plague knew that he was upset. You've lived so long. Accept humbly what was prophesied to you long ago. Is this the real reason why he tried to have Malbonte killed? Because if he ever came to power, then this was written to happen? Ah. Because she kept mentioning something about the law. Is this what he was trying to avoid? I like the blood trails coming off her. It's so cool. Clouds covered the sky. A cold wind rose out of nowhere. Death wasn't my prophecy, Plague. She cautiously took a step back. Are you mad at me? Shepha clapped his hands, and thick vines burst from the ground. They wrapped around Plague's limbs and squeezed so tightly that her bones audibly crunched, but she only laughed in response. Only you could have broken them. For someone like her, pain felt different. He couldn't really hurt her. They both knew it. You're only delaying the inevitable, Creator. Don't call me that. I didn't create you. Oh, do I sense some despair in your voice? But you, Shepha, were named the Creator. You accepted that name. Why shouldn't I call you that? He knew Plague was toying with him. They weren't engaged in an open fight, but each pondered how to deal with the other. Shepha could hear the bones healing beneath the horsewoman's flesh. Call me whatever you want. Just go back to where you came from. Plague's lips curled up in contempt. Ha! She snapped the vines in a single motion, then waved her hand. Part of Shepha's body exploded, ravaged beyond repair. He dissolved in a haze, once again becoming one with the space around him. Are you giving up so easily? Plague slowly moved forward, looking around. You've been here too long. Your powers are fading, unlike those of your children. Even gods die, didn't you know? She carefully peered towards the horizon, expecting an attack. You were strong once, very strong, but I'm stronger than you. Now, my time has come. And again, Shepha's loud voice rang out. Is it yours? Are you the strongest among the horsemen? Shut up. That's a no. As soon as Plague was distracted, the Creator appeared out of nowhere as if from space itself. His light blinded Plague for a moment, and his hand passed through the horsewoman's body, but she broke free and struck back. Shepha's abode was tearing at the seams, vibrating from tension. Two immeasurable forces clashed against each other. Wow. Fire burned in Plague, pushing her forward while the burden of the past dragged Shepha down towards defeat. Wow, that line was crazy. They struck quickly, exchanging blow after blow. The flashes of white and red light went on for an eternity, but the white light began to fade with time, until another surge of Plague's power defeated Shepha. Plague bent over the stricken god. I feel sorry for your children and Shepha Malam's children. If you're so weak, then what are they like? Oh, wow. I kind of just like that picture. It's just pretty. It doesn't take strength to defeat you. Then what does it take? Don't underestimate them. Plague chuckled. We'll see. She folded her fingers and snapped. Shepha exploded a moment later, scattering shards of divine light in every direction. You saw Shepha die. Shock left me silent. Goosebumps prickled my skin. Shepha is gone. I'm your creator now. She killed him? How was that possible? Well, I mean, yeah, we're about to kill him. Who is she? Where does this power come from? I looked at the others again. Is that why they're fighting back? They know it's pointless? All of your friends have accepted the new order. So has heaven. The time will come and you'll get it too. I trembled with horror. I can't. What was that, little bird? Speak up, I can't hear you. I can't give up so easily. I closed my eyes and called on Malbonte's dark power, a part of which I had taken during the ritual that released him. And the power responded to my call. The black energy filled my veins and soaked into my bones and flesh. Plague took a few steps back with an expectant smile. How amusing. You all go through this before you truly realize how insignificant you are. Oh! So that's saying that they did fight her. They couldn't muster it. And, like, I don't think I'm the only one who, had to go through this moment. They just caught on a lot quicker. Shut up or let's see. I extended my hands, aiming directly at Plague's head. I had to get more temper in there. Die. A rush of darkness burst from my palms. She looked so bored. Plague dodged, but I managed to hit her just barely. When she turned to me, I saw a small scratch on her cheek, which instantly healed. Plus strength. Plague feeds on despair, but around you she remain hungry. Oh! I was breathing heavily, and I fell to my knees again. After my long confinement, it was too much for me. Plague rubbed her cheek and laughed. How cute. She burst into delighted laughter again, looking at me in a new light, then turned to Malbonte. Why didn't you tell me that she has your power? I didn't realize it right away, but there can be no doubt. Malbonte pursed his lips and looked at me with bitter condemnation. He was trying to hide that. And I gave away his ace. Of course I did. My bad. Plague's voice suddenly became serious and menacing. You need to get it back. I need stronger helpers. I need strong helpers. What do you say? Malbonte reluctantly replied. I will say that I have long wanted to get my powers back, but I didn't know how. No problem, pup. You could have just asked. Plague approached me. She pressed her hand to my forehead with such force that I had to tilt my head back. No. I tried to dodge to fight her off, but Plague grabbed me with her other hand. No one moved. No one lifted a finger. What exactly are they supposed to do? No one will help me. This will hurt. I felt a sudden jolt. 100 invisible needles pierced my body as my organs burst and my brain and heart were ground to pulp. I convulsed and fell to the floor, but Plague once again lifted me, holding me with one hand. And then she took her hand away from my forehead, and a black thread stretched behind it. Without turning, she said, Malbonte, come here. He slowly descended from the platform and stopped near her. This power belongs to one person only. It has no place in a human body. Plague stretched the thread up to Malbonte's chest. He shuddered as it passed into him, and closed his eyes. I watched my power return to him, making him even stronger. I felt myself growing weaker, felt emptiness consuming my body. How could I survive in the world now? How could I deal with that emptiness? When it was over, Plague pushed me away. I would have fallen if not for Malbonte's swiftly outstretched hand catching me by the elbow. Are you happy? Does he look happy? Like, he could have taken his... honestly, he could have taken his powers from you at any point. I don't think it was a thing about him not knowing how. You always knew you were using something that didn't belong to you. I wonder what other interesting things she's hiding. She again came close to me, wrapped her hands around my head, and looked into my eyes. Hmm? She blinked a couple of times and looked closely again. You have a strong mental block. Oh, from the snake. But it won't help you against me. In any case, I must get rid of this ability. Fentio, I will try. She burst into my mind rudely and unceremoniously, tearing down every block I attempted, obliterating my pathetic efforts to hide my consciousness. She tore and destroyed, crushing small memories to dust along the way, in search of something useful to her. So your father is still alive. You're new to heaven. Intriguing. It's none of your business. We'll see about that. Finally, Plague returned to her throne. I felt... Can't give in to despair. We're not going to go for weakness. That seems like it'll be like a minus strength. We're going to go with relief. Plague had enjoyed herself enough for the moment, but what else would she come up with? The acolyte ran to the center of the hall and fell to his knees. Mistress, the rest of the counselors are waiting for you in the next room. Finally, you brought them. Let's go. Plague jumped up and ran, almost skipping towards her victims. Pike gently pushed me in the back so that I'd follow the others. The entire leadership of the Citadel was kneeling on the floor. Among others, Aragon caught my eye. I don't remember how things ended off with him. So, I'm indifferent. He looks good, though. How many others has she revived? Oh, he was dead. That's right, that's right. What if Mom is alive, too? I wanted to believe it. Plague slowly walked past the immortals, her heels clicking on the tiles. Oh, my dear obedient ones. Each of you tried to fight me, but that's so boring. My brother loves to fight, but I like something else. Aragon took the raven from his shoulder and it flew off away from them. The former counselor rose to his feet and scowled at Plague like a cornered beast. I didn't come back to kneel before you. He rushed towards Plague, swiftly changing direction again and again. Aragon was so quick that his movements likely would have escaped mortal eyes. Plague stuck still. She distantly looked at the floor and smiled. And then she jerked her hand out to the side, grabbing Aragon by the neck. She had calculated his movements and knew where he'd be. She squeezed his throat and threw him to the floor so hard the tiles shattered, leaving a mark beneath him. I told you I don't like fighting. Why are you testing me? And yet, that was so desperate. Shall we look inside your head, Aragon? You won't. Oh, she will. Then his eyes glazed over and his face grew paler. Plague broke through his every defense. An alien playing by her own rules on foreign ground. I covered my mouth with my hand, and I kept getting chills. Aragon had nearly passed out when Plague finally let him go and moved on to her next victim. She tortured everyone she laid her hands on. She tormented them with the details of their own lives, twisting everything she touched. Some immortals didn't come to their senses after her invasion. The faces remained unaware. They continued to look blankly ahead, unsteady on their feet. Plague, satisfied with the result, moved away from them and then said in a commanding voice, "Get up." Several of them immediately stood. What? Oh. Plague raised her hand and from somewhere behind her shoulder a rat appeared and scurried right onto her palm. Bro, it's been there the whole time. Shall we give you a try, my girl? She lowered the rat to the floor and ran over to the risen immortals and suddenly divided into several rats, one for each glassy-eyed victim. Each of the rats climbed a body and left a bite mark before jumping to the floor and merging back into a single rat that returned to the mistress. Ulcers began to spread over the victims' bodies. Did she infect them? They began to scream and run in seeming agony until Plague raised her voice again. Calm down. The infected immortals stopped and became silent. Plague poked at one of them. You should throw yourself out the window. She paused, smiled maliciously at her thoughts, and added, "You want to kill yourself." She turned to the rest of us who were watching her with horror. "We don't want him to stay alive, do we?" The immortal immediately fulfilled her request. He went to the window, climbed onto the sill, and jumped out. There was a distant, muffled thud as if a bag of water had been dropped. Plague kissed the rat, pleased. "How do you like our show?" Everyone was silent, only Turindo spoke up. "You never cease to amaze me." And this is why he was murdered. Of course he's enjoying the show. Stop sucking up. I hadn't made a sound since Plague lost interest in me. It was hard to formulate thoughts or make sense of my feelings or state of mind. The only thing I knew for sure was that Plague would burn the world to ashes and no one could stop her. The rest of the immortals, subject to her influence, continued to stand motionless. Plague sighed sadly. "When I do this, they don't last long, not even immortals. Soon I'll need new puppets." She addressed her remaining toys. "Be my shield. Kill anyone who tries to attack me." The puppets nodded awkwardly. "Wonderful." She rubbed her palms impatiently. "And now, I'd like to take a walk around the city." "In all this time, you never gave me a tour." Plague pouted theatrically. "Lucifer, Malbonte, be my tour guides." She turned to Mimi and me. "You're coming with me, too." She stepped closer, smiling conspiratorially at her own thoughts. "Except, you can't walk animals without a leash, right? Pike, bring the ladies their necklaces." "Yes, mistress." Mimi backed away towards me. I stopped her by pressing my outstretched fingers against her back. I whispered, "What advice should I give her?" Not to show her your feelings? Is this like a composure versus temper thing? Let's test it. Let's find out. She'll learn what our anger feels like. She'll get to feel it on her own skin. Aha, it is. Just don't despair, please. Mimi sadly whispered back. "You don't know what she did to me. You have no idea what she's like." We can't defeat Plague. Meanwhile, the horsewoman was returning with shackles in her hands. "Here are your collars, my dears." She put one on Mimi. Then she came up to me. "Silver shackles, golden shackles. Does it matter how I dress up my shackles?" Surely not. Might as well just pick what matches with my outfit. Like, do you get points for this? I'm curious. Cold metal snapped around my neck with a ringing sound. A hostage, an animal. Not so long ago, everyone bowed to me, but the tables had turned, and I was the one who needed to keep her head down. Holding the ring that pressed against my neck, Plague brought her face closer to mine and whispered enthusiastically, "Now, you're my pet." I stubbornly resisted, and Plague immediately released me. Staggering back from inertia, I nearly fell off my feet. The horsewoman only smiled and turned to Eve, who had been standing off to the side the whole time. The stranger looked obedient. I would even say subdued, but her eyes still sparkled. She was obviously a strong woman, but she obeyed Plague for some reason. "Eve, come with me. You need to be well hidden." Hidden? Why? Plague grabbed her by the hand and flew up. She broke through the ceiling and disappeared with the woman. Fragments of concrete and several pieces of rebar fell, almost crushing our skulls. Lucifer slumped against the wall, sliding to the floor with a blank expression on his face. What's wrong with him? At first I thought that he was hurt, but I couldn't see any visible injuries. Aragon shook off a pile of plaster. "How dare you stand here while she destroys everything? You..." But before he could finish, Plague returned. Her landing shook the walls again. The holes and cracks covered the floor. Alright, now we can take a walk. She picked up the chains and yanked them towards her. Mimi and I fell on our knees in front of her. The chains were taut, the rings squeezed our necks and pulled us toward the horsewoman. You need to be walked. Mimi looked at her with undisguised fury, but the tears in her eyes made her face appear less hostile. I closed my eyes, trying to count to 10. I had done this in my cell to center myself. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pike, tie their wings so they won't fly away. Pike tied Mimi's wings, then came up to me. He whispered, I'm sorry. The acolyte tightened the ropes and they dug into the skin, crushing feathers. Fincio, will you look after your son? She looked Dino up and down. Will you be a good boy? Yes, mistress. I'll look after him, mistress. Okay. Torindo? Yes, mistress. Find that thing we talked about? Yes, mistress. Plague nodded to Pike and he opened the doors. Malbonte, Lucifer, Dino, and Mimi. They all seemed to be living in their own worlds. I had never felt so alone and abandoned. Everyone was trying to cope with the horror in their own way. Plague left the hall, pulling Mimi and me along with her. We, as if under escort, moved after her. The city was dilapidated, houses covered with a layer of soot, incinerated trees, and frightened, lost immortals, not yet fully aware that the end of the world was upon them. Despair, emptiness, and hopeless sadness loomed in the air. I walked, stepping quickly and trying not to fall, as Plague strolled around the city, carelessly and randomly pulling the chains taut and then loosening them. We're really like dogs on a walk. You wouldn't do that to dogs. At least you shouldn't. So this is what the capital of heaven looks like. I didn't have time to take a proper look around when I was destroying everything here. She stretched wearily. My work is rough and tedious after all. Instead of having fun, I have to deal with you, solve problems, and rebuild. But I'll do my job properly. Mother will be pleased with me. Who? Plague spoke incessantly, not paying any attention to Mimi and me. Her puppets trailed behind, ready to attack anyone who got close. I barely tilted my head toward Mimi and whispered, What happened? How did she manage to resurrect them? Mimi pursed her lips. I don't know. But she resurrected Dad, too. Oh. Mimi, I'm so glad. How is he? I don't know. He ran away. I couldn't tell from her voice whether she was happy about it or angry at him. Or maybe both. Dad didn't remember much from non-existence. You're kind of there, but not really. Plague came and summoned them. Some followed her and others stayed behind. I feel like I'm in a dream. If Plague hadn't brought back the dead, it would be a hopeless nightmare. It's hopeless as it is, Melody. While you were locked up, you couldn't see what she was doing. Mimi glanced at Plague warily, checking to see if she could hear us. Everything was on fire. So many immortals died, and she was laughing. I could still hear her laughter. Mimi. Plague tormented us all until we swore allegiance to her, until we fell to our knees begging for mercy. She smiled bitterly, although I'm probably the only one who had to do it. What about... Dino joined her himself. I don't know what Fincio said to him. Lucifer too, maybe his father made him, but I find it hard to believe. He's too angry, too cold with everyone who cared about him. Mimi's words were so full of bitterness and disappointment that I felt uneasy. She was always so independent and cheerful. What did Plague do to her while I was kept in the dungeon? I thought I'd been through hell, but hell wasn't the loneliness in the dark. It was Plague's perverse attention, even beneath an indifferent sun. If she sees, despite her fear, Mimi seemed to perk up. Her eyes sparkled with hope, longing for contact and warmth. I only have a little bit of time. My daughter is looking for me. Okay. And I repeated, stretching out my open palm. Give me your hand. Don't be afraid. I glanced at Plague and Lucifer and Malbonte walking in front. They were busy talking and didn't look in our direction. Melody. Mimi hesitated but eventually extended her hand. Her trembling fingers reached out for me, seeking to grasp my hand and never let go of it again. We tried not to move any closer so that Plague wouldn't notice us by the tension of the chains. We had to follow her, trying to find each other's hands almost without looking. Finally, I felt her fingertips graze mine, but they drifted away again before I could clasp them. Fatigue and fear that Plague might notice and disapprove made me tremble. My palms became cold and sweaty. I decided to take a chance and stepped slightly to the side so I could reach her, and then Mimi stretched her arm even further, seeking my hand. Oh. I feel like I've changed my mind. I feel like I should just be dating Mimi. I love her nails. Oh. We clasped our fingers together, squeezing as hard as we could. Oh. This one warm touch, and with its fleeting tenderness and kindness, softened Mimi's inner agony. I saw her eyes warmed up, how a timid smile appeared on her lips. I wanted to burst into tears at how vulnerable she was at that moment. Everything will be fine. Thank you. Mimi is deeply touched by your support. Lucifer suddenly stopped and turned to us with a look of such fury that we sharply withdrew our hands. I immediately felt so cold and lonely and infinitely miserable. Once again, I saw only the unconcealed wickedness of the rest of the world. I met his gaze head-on with bitter interest. Can't believe you're on her side. It just can't be. Plague suddenly stopped, relaxing our chains. It's all interesting, of course, but that's not what I need. I've put things in order around here, but I need access to the mortals. And I need those who will help with my mission. I know, we've already talked about this. And everything is ready. You're expected at a special place. There, you can... Loud-ass cars. There, you can easily observe life on Earth and descend if necessary. Uh-oh, Donnie. You have plenty of mortals at your disposal to carry out tasks. Plague looked at Lucifer with an unexpectedly soft and satisfied expression. And what is this place? The Angels and Demons Academy. The ground seemed to vanish from under my feet at that moment. The world began to spin. Memories rushed over me like an avalanche, sweeping away the devastation, but also bringing irrational hope along with chilling terror. I felt Malbonte's eyes on me. Surely he remembered all the same things that I remembered. Plague laughed loudly and exclaimed, "Then let's go to the academy." Four stars because the MC was being a little strange in the beginning of the episode. Okay. Alice is going off right now. So yeah, I gotta go. But yeah, okay. We're in a very low point right now, and I'm not entirely certain what the connection she has on the ones that she brought back. Because it was weird how Lucifer slumped to the ground when she left, right? Like almost as if he's kind of only being held up by puppet strings by her. It's very strange how obedient he is. Like, even when tortured, it's very strange how obedient he is. You know? Like, given his upbringing. And what's Satan's real thing? Because given Lucifer's upbringing, and we've seen it, he never chooses his son. So you telling me she's holding on to him by threatening Lucifer? Something ain't right with that. I don't know. Dino's obviously clearly upset. Malbonte, I'm pretty certain he's thinking of strategy. I'm pretty certain. He's coldly strategic like he always is. I like that. That hasn't changed. So it's interesting. And poor Mimi, she's going through it. Poor Mimi. I don't know. I feel like if anybody, maybe I should be dating her. I don't know. kind of want to replay now and just go pure Mimi. Throw everybody else to the ground. Because I dismissed her earlier on because she made me mad about something, but I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Am I gonna go Mimi or Malbonte? I don't know yet. But anyway, let me go ahead and end this part right here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and show the like button some love, subscribe to see more content like this, and I will be back tomorrow with another video. Okay. Or maybe tomorrow. Anyway, bye.